Hitches beyond our control, but thank God we are right back. Welcome to the review of tabloids, where we bring to you the major news-making stories. We go into an analysis of the news-making stories as given to us by our colleagues of the print media in Cameroon and some selected African countries. We are in the month of February, and this is the very first edition for the month. As usual, the weekend has been punctuated with lots of activities, particularly in the political domain. The situation in the PCRN party has once more come to light following Robert Kona's backing of President Paul Biya. Cabral Libby has reacted to that. Honorable Joshua Osei declares candidacy for president, but all of that will be finalized at the Congress of the SDF. We shall be having more light on that. And in the sports domain, of course, is the crisis pitting Union of Douala against the Cameroon Football Federation, the Transitional Football League, following the distribution of revenue from match sale tickets in the game Union of Douala against Dinamo. But we are not really going to talk into that. Our sports team for this evening will have lots of meat to chew on that particular story. We shall kickstart right away by introducing our regular man on set. Henry, good morning.
Good morning, Peter. Good morning to Atelier.
It's a new month.
Yes, indeed. It's a new month and a very busy one from all sectors, the young people.
Bilingualism Week has been launched, the Youth Day
activities, and it will chain up right up to 11th February.
Yeah.
And just immediately after that, you have the Eid March. So it's going to be a very charged 1.5 or 2 months.
Not leaving out Valentine's Day. That's
and
for lovers.
of course, not leaving out Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, that is when?
14th.
Oh, come on.
Next week.
Someone got the wife on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Sure. All right. Thank you very much. Televias is on that very, very light note, that ice-breaking note, that we shall kickstart our roundup of the geopolitical setup of the continent. We kickstart in Central Africa, Cameroon. SDF's Joshua Osei declares for president. Top story on the Sun newspaper this morning. This was during the NEC meeting that took place in Yaoundé. However, the Sun newspaper is observing that hopes are fading for a strong opposition coalition. And that is why you find that most of the political candidates are already declaring their candidacies, on an individual standpoint. According to the Sun newspaper, extraordinary convention will be organized to pick the SDF candidates, which means that other corps from the SDF will come in, and why NEC members have been tasked to recruit 75,000 polling stations. Now, you are going to speak like the SDF Communication Secretary in this light. Honorable Joshua Osei declares for president. How will you say was the outcome of the NEC meeting?
Well, the outcome was a very successful one. Let me tell you that of the 83 NEC members, this was historic. The quorum was overflowing to suffocation. I can assure you of the 83 NEC members, I think we had 3 absences, and absences are justified.
Justified, yeah.
Those who traveled out of the country, those who could not make it because they were sick.
Those who probably were sent on assignment.
Were sent on assignment by the party. So, in fact, of 83, I think only 3 or 4 or 5 were absent, which it tells you that the hall was overflowing to suffocation. And not forgetting of the observers who always attend the NEC meeting, because each region sends observers to be part of it, so that they see how the deliberations are going out. But according to the standing orders of the party, observers don't talk, they just listen, they follow the debates, the deliberations, and they can exchange with others during, during the break. However, it was an interesting NEC session, the first ordinary NEC session of the year, 2023, and you must have read the tabloids, must have read listened to the radio, watched the TV stations. It was interesting. And the national chairman made the declaration of his intention to run at the end of it. And that was the breaking news at the end of this session. But then, like the Post newspaper mentioned, and like some other papers, the Sun mentioned.
And even the Post, which we don't have here.
Post, okay. Yes, the SDF is the only political party of the opposition divide that has the Joint Electoral Commission represented in all the 360 divisions. That is what people don't know. 360 divisions in the country, subdivisions in the country. So, and the SDF is already about 60 to 70% gone in terms of the recruitment of 75,000 polling agents.
Polling agents.
Yeah, so by the time the electorate is convened, we must have attained that number. I think it is important because, you see, when you don't have them there, that is when the CPDM steals. That's when the theft is organized. So once you are there, it is impossible for them to steal. So that is what we are doing. We will not commit any errors of the past. And even from that, it becomes difficult because it puts the CPDM in a tight corner.
Okay, but the paper highlights that an extraordinary convention will be organized to pick the SDF candidate. Why is this arrangement? Because we find in other political parties, most of the party heads, when they say they are candidates, everybody just applauds. Yeah, applauds, and they start preparing for.
The most structured party in this country is the Social Democratic Front, and
the CPDM is also structured. We know that the SPDM
I don't want to talk about them.
The SPDM is everywhere because you're making a statement that the SDF is the most structured, and I'm also telling you that the SPDM is also structured.
Are you a CPDM militant? Anyway, that's a joke. Now, the SDF is organized, structured. You don't hear all those brouhaha. If someone wrote an article when the next session was going on, in fact, I think before or just like that, on social media, saying that the SDF a fait un passage forcé. That is to say, according to him, they have just, endorsed OC.
Yeah, and
that the NEC members endorsed OC.
And that's the clarification that I want to make.
That is in violation of the law. That is what he wrote, in violation of the law. And then at the end of it, you see, we respect the party's text. These are the fundamental laws. Nobody can. And he has always reminded people that he is not above the law. There are debates that go on. He too has his own position, he says, and if the NEC members override his ideas or his proposals, he accepts. The text is clear. The party has to go in for a primary, extraordinary convention to choose a party's candidate for the presidential election. That is clear, and that is what is going to be done. And the date is already known, the 22nd. Because there are things that we discuss, there are considerations that we take to make sure we come up with a date for the convention, and knowing that there is no time. And you know the tricks that the CPDM government always does. So we are always pulling the orders. Now, the person who wrote that article was even advised by some of his friends that he should pull it down because he committed a very big blunder by not even consulting the text of the party.
Now, just clarify the public opinion. Joshua also declares for president, which means that other members of the party can also declare for president.
I can declare.
And then the convention will hold where finally the candidates.
Just like we went for the convention in the 10th Ordinary Convention. Okay, there were 3 candidates who were vying for the position of the national chairman. So they ran, they did their campaigns, they came out with their campaign messages. They had to convince candidates of delegates to vote them. And at the end of the day, someone won. So it is going to be the same thing. If candidates are coming up for, to run on the party's ticket as flag bearer of the party for the presidential election, they will come up and there we will print the ballots. In fact, even when we go for convention, we know that it's going for primaries. Primaries mean that we'll select someone. So the commission in charge of the electoral process will prepare the ballots. And of course, we are an example, a single ballot. But we don't behave like another political party. Single ballot is clear. We have photographs and everything. Yeah. So they will run. We would separate them and they will say, this is the flag bearer. Now they will endorse the flag bearer for the party and work begins.
All right, we'll move away from there, but we'll stay within the SDF. Still with the Sun newspaper, former Tiko Mayor, His Royal Highness Mokondo Daniel bows out.
Yeah,
what
very sad.
Legacy do you have of, which legacy has he left? We know that he was...
A lot.
a very, very committed supporter of the SDF and former mayor of Tico 2013 to 2020.
A committed servant of the people. He was serving the people. You know, the Social Democratic Front is to serve the people first. Well, Mayor Mokondu died in the morning when that same day when we were having the NEC meeting. It was heartbreaking. So when the national chairman was announced in the hall, his demise, in fact, it was like everyone was broken. You see, we just came back from burying another former member of parliament, PC Fonso, on that Saturday, and then in the morning, about 1 a.m. to Mayor Mokondu died, and so we only can say, well, may his soul rest in peace. He's fought a battle for democracy, he's fought a battle for equal opportunities, he's fought a battle for justice. We would continue the battle till the end.
All right, we move to Cameroon Tribune. Cameroon Tribune says, Présidentielle 2025, communion autour de Paul Biya. According to the paper, traditional authorities, religious officials, and also heads of some political parties are mobilizing and calling for President Paul Biya to stand in for the elections later this year. They are justifying their position, as Cameroon Tribune reveals, by President Paul Biya's experience, his wisdom, and results that have already been produced in the president's pursuit of national affairs. You know, I'm trying to do a translation from French to English, and so this comes on the heels of the situation in the PCRN. I would just like us to talk about it, because now it seems like a new episode has come.
Yeah. Now I'll not speak as a member of the SDF.
You are not speaking as a member of the SDF now. Sure.
Yeah, I think when you look at when you go back, you take the clock back, the fingers of the clock back, you understand that
we saw this coming.
We saw it coming when they started projecting the achievements of President Biya in different towns and regions of the country. It was a build-up to that, to what is coming. You see, you don't need to remind us of President Biya's achievements whatsoever. You don't need to remind us of President Biya's achievement, because Cameroonians know what he has done, and they know what he has not done. They know what we have as our political problems or as socio-economic problems. So that was it. Now, another scenario is the fact that they have endorsed. It is some sort of endorsement of those parties, the party UPC faction of Bapolipo.
Yes.
You know, and you see, Bapolipo took that stand. You know, that is my analysis ahead of maybe Balaguet Code, or which means maybe they could. Is some sort of being afraid that, well, they might take the lead and say they were equally aligning with. But they had already...
we know that Balaguet Court has already aligned with
Akere Muna. Now, is the problem of the PCRN solved? You know, the conflict between Pakuna and Cabral Libi, has it been solved? Don't you see that now they are fastened or quickened these steps, to me, in violation of the decision of the court? Now, if there is already an appeal, if there's an appeal, it means that it is going to be impossible for Cabral Libi.
That's the question that I wanted to just follow up, because
yes, that's good.
Cabral's candidacy might not go. It hangs in a balance, because the candidacy could be, I'll use the word could be, in order not to be misunderstood, could be rejected for internal wranglings within the party.
That is obvious. You see, and that the courts might tell them that they might receive two documents, or two files, PCRN, and then you see National President Cabral Libi, PCRN, National President Robert Kona. Now the court said we are having the same document from the same party, and then there is conflict. Now they will start it. The court will tell now we are incompetent. They will reject it. It is very clear they will reject it. It is obvious that they will reject it. because you cannot have two files signed by two different presidents. It means there is a conflict in the. They will tell them, they will advise them. It has happened to with Bakolipo
and Balaguer Court. Yeah.
But you know, after that, what happens? At the end of the day, they went for election, right? And then the court finally came out with its decision. The court rendered a judgment, and it was Balaguer Court who won. But yeah, he won as a legitimate president or chairman or whatever of the party.
But the expediency recognizes Bakolipo.
But the elections had gone over and Bakolipo had won. So it is certainly going to be, okay, Kona has already aligned with Paul Biya. So yeah. Cabral, even if Cabral goes with PCRN, okay, that's okay. At the end of the day, after the election, they will bring the judgment. So, okay, Cabral has won the case and to remain as a chairman, but the election
has already passed.
So, but then, like you put it, its situation is hanging on the balance. It's hanging on the balance, and it is already visible that it might not, like we want to be very prudent, as you say, it might not work for him. It might not work for me, which is a very dangerous precedent in our democracy.
Still on Cameroon Tribune, Ministry of Communication 2025 elections on the spotlight. The Minister of Communication urging the media family in Cameroon to be responsible during the coverage of the various elections that will come in the country. This was during the presentation of New Year wishes.
Yeah, but this is not only... Look, listen, we are now... Peter, we are speaking again as if we are in the 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s. We are speaking in a world that electronic communication is, hyper, in a situation where things move very fast. You see, when you are talking about, yes, responsible, because we have online platforms, we have podcasts, etc., etc. But when you talk about responsible, you know that there are people who can send out information, to derail the public opinion.
Yeah.
Not only the journalists, you should not be talking only journalists. No, you have social media influencers, you have bloggers, bloggers are identified. Bloggers are identified. But you have other people, on their pages, their Facebook, etc. They can influence. But the public perception is that the media
has to play
a very role. They want to listen to Peter. Because some people say, until we listen to Peter. And you see, it is obvious, trainings will be coming up,
Yeah, seminars, workshops for journalists will be coming up.
To keep up, to upgrade, because there are new dynamics in the whole electoral process. The electoral process is the same thing. It's just to remind you people on what to do, how to go about it. But we should equally know that, well, there are certain things that you cannot do. You just need to review your notes and know what to do, when the election period will come, before, during, and after.
Yeah. The Guardian Post is our next newspaper this morning. The Guardian Post says 4 opposition parties throw weight behind Biya, just like Cameroon Tribune highlighted. And the particularity of this story is the feedback from the PCRN Kabralibi faction, who are accusing the Minister of Territorial Administration of trying to cause trouble by accepting Robert Kona's endorsement of President Paul Biya. They are justifying the fact that the courts, in 2 separate judgments, had declared that Kabralibi is maintained as the president of the party. But we saw in the ceremony in Yaoundé, even on the pictures here, you can see the mayor of Makak, for example, who is a former member of the PCRN. And the mayor yesterday in one TV channel in Yaoundé highlighted that he should not be victimized for his choice because the party dumped him when he needed them most. The party challenged his list, but his list went through. He finally won the election as mayor, and so the party should not victimize him for his choice.
Yes, some people are already, in fact, people are saying that the Minister of Territorial Administration is the one facilitating the alliance. And look, and I believe many more will come. Many more will come. Many more of those parties, you find them only when there are elections. You don't find them on the ground doing work. So now that they don't even have, even an office, They don't have militants or members. They don't have anything to show as a political program. They just need to link to the CPDM.
But these parties nonetheless are important because according to observers, some observers say these parties could be criticized for who they are or for what they represent, but they are nonetheless important, and that is why the CPDM sees them as potential partners. Isn't it a valid argument?
What do you mean by potential partners? What do you mean by potential partners? We don't deny there are smaller parties. I'm just saying that they're making, like just like it happened, they said the G20.
Yeah, the G20 or 2018.
After that, they picked Minister Momo, President Momo, as a member of government. You see, yes, those G20s, what are they? Now, Peter, let us be very honest and let Cameroonians listen well. Look at the political card, the political leader, the political parties in the country. What are the parties? What are the parties? Because if you ask any Cameroonian who is following things, he will say, well, okay, even the media guys. How many political parties do you know? You will not be. People are proud to say now they have 360 this and that. 360, 300 and that.
An advanced democracy. Which makes Cameroon an advanced democracy.
It looks funny. Now, if you have parties like the SDF, the CPD, the MRC, the PCRN, maybe to an extent you can add
the UNDP.
The UNDP, yeah. But the UNDP and the other one, yes, they are there. I think that of Issa Chiroma Bakari, FCA, the
National Salvation
Front Party, and some few. But you see, which are those parties holding regular meetings, strategies? It doesn't suffice. You said it doesn't suffice to get up. Some people will just sit on the day, they will just write a communique and attack. That is all. Some people will just publish a communique. Where are the structures? That is a political party. We are talking about political party.
But that's left for the political leaders themselves to put the structures. But now,
that's it. So, but we see them come up only during election. And people are saying, oh, opposition should unite, opposition coalition. Even somebody who doesn't know what a coalition means will be talking.
We're talking about coalition.
So I'm telling you, in the neighborhood, you hear coalition. If you call opposition, I said, like, you be responsible. You are the ones responsible. So opposition unite. They give you a political program. You don't go through. They even explain it on TV, on radio. You don't listen. Their own is opposition unite, without even knowing what the coalition. Okay, yes, some opposition leaders have called the others. Okay, what do you bring? Listen to me. The SDF actually, presently the SDF is about 70% in gaining the 75,000 polling agents. Ask yourself the question. To those people who say opposition should unite, how many of the other opposition leaders, opposition parties, have even one polling agent? Take any political party of the 360, remove these ones that you and I know, the big ones that we know. Call them.
But you're trying to talk about the weight of these parties.
Yes,
I am talking about the CPDM's preference for these parties.
Yes.
Do these parties nonetheless not serve a purpose for the CPDM?
Of course it does.
Because the CPDM, we understand, has a great machinery. Normally, on a normal scale, some political observers will tell you that the CPDM party does not need these parties to win an election. But nonetheless, it showcases the fact that the CPDM nonetheless understands that these parties have a role to play in elections.
I don't want to say something that will irritate you. Listen. Someone said, these are hungry people. Yes, that they want to eat their own. That's what someone put it. That's it. They want to eat their own. They are begging for their own share. That is it. So, like you said, okay, someone too equally said CPDM doesn't need them. CPDM needs them. You know why? To prove to the people that they too are forming an alliance with some political parties.
Exactly.
Just to prove. But when we're talking about an alliance or coalition of political parties of the opposition divide, we're talking about people who have something to put on the table. Peter, you and I cannot want to go into business. It is business. What do you put on the table? That's why we're saying, some people say, okay, does it suffice to just come and say, okay, follow me, let's go? Or let Peter come, let us see what we'll do. Okay, well, if come, let us see what we'll do. At least tell us one or two things that you can do for us to succeed, to win. They say, okay, Peter, you say, okay, no, Henry, I have, for example, in this sector or in this division or in this area, at least I can produce 20 polling agents. There I can produce 10. There I can. How now we can be talking? When they say, okay, how many polling agents can you produce? So that we protect
the votes.
The vote. You start scratching your head. That is when you start thinking whether you have even police station and polling agents. We're talking about people who are already prepared.
So the reason why the opposition
that is part of the thievery.
So the reason why the opposition is not united.
That is not the only reason. I'm just giving an example.
Or one of the reasons why the opposition is not
because the mechanism is not because there are mechanisms to protect the vote when we go for the when we go to the polls.
And some opposition parties do not satisfy those mechanisms.
Yes, some opposition parties do not satisfy those mechanisms. So when you say we are going for alliance, the first thing is Peter, is business now.
It's political business.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to go and do business with Peter. I want to open up a structure. What do we bring? When you hear that Mark Zuckerberg and his friend, they created Facebook and, there were two of them, right?
Yeah.
Each and everyone brought something. You don't just say, oh, alliance, let us come, you sit there, you fold your arms, only to talk. Yes, you can. It is part of contribution too. What do you bring now when it comes to the finances? How do we work how do we work that out? When it comes to the program, how do we reconcile our programs, political program? It's not rocket science. It's just simple. Mark Zuckerberg and his friends sat in their own room. They gathered. They said, okay, I have this, I have this. If it is 100,000 francs, let us share. If you have 50, okay. If you have 40, if you have 20, okay, I have source for. What do you bring on the table for alliance? So people, you see, people use that, and even the CPDM people are using that. It's not like the opposition party, listen, it is not like the opposition party cannot come for an alliance, please. It is not like they cannot do it.
But what has been the problem?
The problem is that they are intoxicating.
Since 1997, it's been, in fact, it's been a vicious circle for opposition parties who cannot meet together.
You are correct. They have succeeded. You are making a point, brother. They have succeeded to intoxicate, to poison the minds of Cameroonians to believe that it cannot work. Because even the civil say, no, they cannot do it.
There's not an issue for Cameroonians. This is an issue for the political actors. Let's take, for example, Kamto, Joshua Osei, Cabral Libi, Bello Buba, Akere.
Bello Buba is already with the CPDM.
Okay, Bello Buba is already with the CPDM. Okay, fine. Let's take these four candidates. What stops them from coming together and say, let's create a strong, unified coalition. Let's bring our resources together and create a one unit that can stand against a robust CPDM, which, despite its...
CPDM is not robust.
The CPDM is robust. The CPDM is everywhere. We understand that most opposition political parties are not national. So that's why I say the CPDM is robust.
Okay. What stops them?
Yeah, what stops these opposition political actors from coming? So it's not an issue of the mindset of the people. If the politicians come together and they convince the people that, okay, fine, we have succeeded to come together, this is the program that we offer, then things may kick off.
You see, Peter, we are just turning around the
clock.
The clock.
And meanwhile, time is going. October will be coming.
Yeah. But October is near. October is tomorrow. What stops them? It is the same thing that we have been explaining. What do you bring on the table? The problem is not to come and sit and then we talk. What do you bring on the table?
Lack of a common vision.
That's it. So there are a lot of things.
Let's move on. The Dawn newspaper takes us to a very, very critical issue which we have to talk about. And the paper says, a site for sore eyes. Youth Minister adjourns multipurpose center inauguration in Tiku over faded walls.
It is important. You see, when you look at the situation in the northwest and southwest regions, it's not the best. But then we are happy that the the young people are already picking up. So when you create multiple centers like that, it helps. It helps. And we need more of such social facilities. We need more of such social facilities so that we empower the young people, reshape them. And we should not only remain there, there should be more vocational centers. Yeah. Yes.
But now let's talk about the action of the minister. The minister did not inaugurate the center because he saw the center was already dilapidating.
Yes. They have to rebuild the center. He did not inaugurate it. That's good. Yeah, it will not be good for his image if he had done that. Yeah. It will not be good for his image if he had done that. So I think refusing to inaugurate the center is something commendable.
All right, we'll take a short break to West Africa, and we shall be right back. We'll kickstart with Vanguard briefly. Vanguard talks about subsidy removal in Nigeria as Nigerian oil marketers expand borrowings by 76.5% to 3 trillion naira, with profits up to 49.9%, with profits from 49.9% to about 420 billion naira. Also on the paper, telecom tariff hike. Federal government meets National Labour Congress leaders today over tomorrow's protest. I think we spoke about that last week Thursday.
So they'll have to meet to try to avoid a nationwide strike. Very important. You see, once the labor movement or the labor union, once they cough, especially in Nigeria, the government trembles, the federal government trembles, which is important. Now they have to discuss to see they can avert, any unforeseen, any very, very unpleasant situation in the country, especially as the country is going through very serious problems. Now, contrary to what we observe in some of our countries or in our areas, where when the labor leaders, they call some of the labor leaders and corrupt them. But I don't think you can corrupt any labor leader in Nigeria. It's difficult.
It's possible.
I'm not saying that it's impossible. I say it's difficult. But yeah, they'll call. Then you hear Peter will come and the strike. We are calling off the strike. When the leaders come and say they are calling off the strike, actually means they have at least look for a middle way. Mm-hmm. Middle way. It's not like they have given them some banknotes for them to shut them. No. It's because they have agreed on certain things that the government will do. That's when they will call off the strike action. I think it's commendable for them to meet with the labor leaders.
The custodian in Ghana looks into the crisis in Ghana's parliament. Over the weekend, 4 members of parliament were suspended after a fight which broke out in parliament over the vetting of ministerial nominees by President John Mahama, and the minority NPP party has rejected the move, saying that it is selective justice, as all the 4 members of parliament belonged to the opposition NPP, and not one member of the NDC was suspended. So the situation is boiling out there in Ghana as far as the vetting of ministerial nominees are concerned. Last week, it was a free-for-all fight in the parliament.
Yes, that's true.
with the speaker saying that the fight was really unacceptable.
You see, Ghana is trying to do, in fact, like he said when he came back, that he's going to create history this time around. You see, they have to vet the nominees. Here, when they appoint, you say, come. You come, the next day they install you and work. But you see, just like they are grilling the nominees of President Trump.
Of President Trump, yeah.
Or generally any president in America, the Congress will grill him. So too, they are grilling their nominees. They might have nominees who might not be up to the task. But you have to convince them that he will work. Yeah. So
and the nominees have to defend themselves.
They have to defend themselves.
And even defend their past records.
Mm-hmm, yeah. That's true.
We are now going to take a very short break. In South Africa this time, we are going to skip East Africa for time constraints. We'll take South Africa and we'll look at the situation in the DRC. So Sowetan is asking the question, when are they coming home? This follows the death of South African soldiers in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a situation which continues to generate lots of global attention. Yesterday, Rwanda refused and denied comments made by the Southern African Development Community, SADC, that they were backing M23 rebels. Paul Kagame instead accused SADC of outrightly supporting President Tshisekedi rather than coming as a peacekeeping force in the country. And Sowetan reveals this morning that the Speaker of South Africa's National Assembly has agreed to a snap debate on the deaths of South African soldiers in the DRC. That will be next week, Monday, on February 10. And the Southern African peacekeeping force says that fighting between Congo's military and M23 group in Goma is causing delays with a lot of repatriations.
Well, I think the situation is not the best there. A lot of people, a lot of talks have been going on. The M23, they are
advancing now towards Bukavu, in the South Kivu province.
Yes. So it tells you that, like we said it here, it will spill progressively.
And Burundi expressed fears during the SADC meeting. Yes. Burundi said that they are having a very, very volatile situation on their hands. It will spill progressively, and it will spill right up to the, at the moment, or like what happens with Kabila. That is Joseph Desiré Kabila, the father. As they are moving gradually, they are moving. I think they should stop it earlier, before it spills. But now that the M23 already have it in the back of their mind that they are coming to Kinshasa, their objective is Kinshasa, it means it will be very difficult to stop it. It will be very difficult to stop it until they get to Kinshasa. But now, with the situation between Tshisekedi and Kagame not very, very good, how timely is it for these two leaders to come sit together and trash out their differences? Because before 2021, these two leaders were like husband and wives. We saw them, they were everywhere.
Yes.
Tshisekedi was making visits to Kigali, Kagame was coming to Kinshasa, and you know, they were signing lots of accords to promote trade amongst themselves, but in 2021, everything just fell apart.
Yeah, interest. They could still re-strategize to come back. But for the interest of the people, now that this one is accusing the others that, well, he's sponsoring the M23, and the other one is refusing. But we see M23 go, now who is giving the M23 the means?
And they are highly sophisticated. If we have to say something.
So, DRC, it will be very difficult for peace to return. Very difficult. The M23, they are already bent. Now look at the distance they have covered. So do you think they will go back? To where?
They may cover. In 2013...
And when they cover, it is easier for them to break away. It's okay, this is an independent
In 2012, they took over Goma, but they still had to withdraw. Yeah. So everything is possible.
So if they negotiate, it's okay, go back. They'll go back. So they should meet and discuss. I think the leaders of the sub-regional leaders should meet, SADC should meet, and then handle the situation.
Now, one more thing before we go. Is a meeting between M23 and the Congolese government possible?
It is possible.
Tshisekedi remains adamant that he does not want to discuss with the rebels.
Yes,
but at this point in time, how urgent?
It is urgent. It is possible. Listen. They will say things like that at the end of the day. When you hear that,
we may finally come to the Mobutu Roland Kabila situation in 97.
Joseph, You see, that is it. So by the time let us discuss.
Where even Mandela came, Nelson Mandela came to.
It was already late.
Mandela came, was already late, and Mobutu had to leave.
So it was already so. Because when you see that they are encroaching, they will tell you, let us discuss. You will keep saying we will not discuss. You will not discuss with terrorists or you will not discuss with rebels. But when the time comes, you say, no, please come, let's talk. It will be late. There's nothing.
So the time to talk is now. Now that they are advancing towards Bukavu, because by the time they
cover Bukavu, you take Bukavu. That's all.
Because by the time they move 2,000 kilometers and get to the shores of Kinshasa,
that will be all. That will be all. So the time to talk is now.
All right, we shall be keeping an eye on the situation in DRC. Of course, we know that the crisis in the region, is threatening to affect so many regional economic communities. The DRC is a member of ECAS, where Cameroon is also a member. So even Cameroon has an interest in seeing to it that the situation is brought under control.
That's true.
The Southern African Development Community that has already sent in a force which Kagame says that is backing the DRC, and SADC has said that they are backing DRC. And we have the East African Community Force also there in the Congo. So it's really a very critical situation out there. And we shall be keeping tabs on that. We shall also watch the reports that we shall be producing concerning that in our respective news editions. And that does it for this edition of the Review of Tabloids. Thank you very much for coming, Henry.
It's a pleasure.
And of course, Thursday will be another day. Coming up at exactly midday will be Journal du Cameroon. Keep watching programs on Dash TV. Bye-bye.